Viewers, it is time for a new age. Hello everyone and welcome to EA40, and behind me is the vehicle I just got out of, a 2004 Saab 9.5 ARC Sport Combi. I've had this car for about 5 years and it's taken me through part of high school, all of college, part of life after college, and I've gone on adventures with it, and I've even done a track day with it, and this car has just taken everything that I've thrown at it. However, it is time to move on to something a little bit newer, and in this case I bought a used car to replace this, but in some ways it's better than new, and it's also very familiar. So let's reveal that car right now. So let me give you guys a background as to why we made this switch. For me personally, I've actually wanted one of the newer Saab 9.5s with the 2006 and up Dame Edna, as it's called, facelift. And that's been for a few reasons. I've wanted it because I wanted to have something that looked a little bit newer, especially because I'd be going to more job interviews and such, and I want to make sure that I'm rolling up in a car that looks a little bit more modern. This car, it looks a bit older, we can admit that. I know a lot of Saab purists would say that this is a better design, and I can see where they're coming from, especially with the shark tooth aero front end, but for my purposes at the time, this is kind of what we needed a little bit more. So that's why we ended up making that switch, for me at least. Now keep in mind, I'm not the only one who drives these vehicles. I have other family members who drive them as well, and it was getting to a point where they were expressing some concern that this car wasn't going to last very long. They were worried that it was just going to have some repairs that were just going to be a little too cost ineffective to make. And it got to a little bit of a crossroads for us. It was like, okay, we can try and run this thing for even longer, but if for some reason one day the car doesn't start, or the engine blows or something, or the head gasket blows or something, then I'm gonna be in a situation where I don't really have a car and I kind of need one to get to work. I don't always work from home. And in that case, I didn't want to be in a situation where I'd end up having to go to a Nissan dealership and lease like a new Versa or a Sentra, where I'd have to pay a few $1,000s down and then like $100 some a month. I just didn't want to do that. I feel like that would be putting money into a depreciating asset that I don't really get to keep, and it's an asset that, let's be honest, I wouldn't really want, and many car enthusiasts wouldn't really want such a car either. So we had been looking for some time. Actually, the search had been going on for way over a year, actually even almost 2 years at this point, in finding a replacement for this Saab 9.5, the older one. And recently, we happened to see a newer one pop up about an hour from where I live, and the price was okay, and I figured, you know what, maybe I can talk the price down. It had all the options that I wanted. I'll go into the options later. And so we made the trip out, we took a test drive on the car, we liked it enough, made an offer, and here it is in my driveway. Another big reason into the switch actually has to do a little bit with YouTube, and here's a big thing. Like I said in my previous video, it is hard to build a YouTube channel when you don't have like one central content piece that you can continually work with. For automotive YouTube channels, that tends to be a car. Either you have access to a lot of other cars, like from dealerships and stuff, or you have a car of your own that you can kind of take people on a journey with. As you guys have known, I've had this car for years, the older Saab 9.5. However, it's been one that I knew I wasn't going to want for very long in a way, and I just couldn't justify spending money on like some modifications or even other enhancements and stuff when I knew that if something else were to come up, I'd just jump for that right away. Plus, I was at a point when I was starting my channel anyway where I didn't have that much growth, I didn't have that much subscribers, and so in terms of getting sponsors and stuff, that made it a much harder sell. So we ended up seeing this one, and I feel like this one's gonna stick around at least a bit longer in a way. I don't know if I'm gonna have it for the same amount of years longer, but it's the kind of car that I would actually want to keep for some time, and therefore I can actually justify spending some money and even looking for sponsors on some of the modifications for the car. And I do have some modifications in mind. I'm gonna go over all of those in a separate video. So let me explain to you why this car is better than new, even though technically it's a used station wagon that's around 12 years old. So we purchased the car for well under $1,000, and around that price point you can put enough money down to lease yourself a brand new Honda HR-V or something like that. and then you pay around $100 to $140 a month depending on the kind of deal you end up getting. But there's a problem. At the end of those 3 years, you're not going to have that Honda HR-V. This car has actually had about $1,800 worth of work, which I'll explain in a separate video. So this car, it's definitely gonna last for quite a long time. And even if it didn't have all that work, it probably would still last a lot longer. However, because this one has had so much work done to it, our running costs are actually gonna be quite low for quite a long time. We're just gonna be paying money for insurance, gas, maybe a few small things that come up, but it's gonna be pretty good. So I think we're pretty much ahead. Plus, think about this, a Honda HR-V has about half the horsepower of this car. It's not a very quick car, but this one, it's much faster, it's much more comfortable, and it has some features that a lot of new cars still don't have today, which I'll go show you. So side by side, you can tell there are many differences between the two cars, but we're gonna focus more on the new one here. So this one, I'll admit, it does look a good bit more updated. There's more chrome along it. The front reflector can actually be taken off pretty easily. I have a separate video coming with all the different modifications I plan to do to this car. But going along the side, a lot more things are body color, like the door handles are. The roof rails are also more body color, or they're not exactly. Actually, they are pretty much body color. At least in this lighting. I have to look again. There's a back end of the car. Being that this is the Aero, the exhaust pipe is actually visible. It's still single exhaust. Maybe someday I'll make it a double exhaust or something like that. You have a slightly different taillight design as well. Maybe I'll do something a little bit fun with that. One of my favorite things about this car is the fact that it has Griffin style wheels here. It's different from the normal double Ys that the 2006 and up Saab 9.5s come with, so I really like seeing these. We're gonna move inside now. Moving on to the interior, there are more elements of GM to it, which kind of stinks in some ways, but at the same time, the interior does look a little bit more updated. Something a little nice, this one does have the power folding mirror option. It's very rare to have those on the US spec models, but this one does. A lot of people actually had to retrofit them from Europe. Another huge option that this one has, alongside the sports seats, which are supposedly made by Recaro, are ventilated seats. So these seats are heated and they are cooled. And the fun thing is, the Saab 9.5 was actually the very first production vehicle to have the option of ventilated seats back when it came out in like 1998 or something. This is technically the same platform as the 1998 model, which that also explains why these things tend to be so cheap, alongside the fact that Saab is just out of production. But overall, that is most of the interior. There are a few other differences. This radio, it's basically GM, which kind of stinks as well. There is an aux port. The OnStar still actually does work. Like, I could get an OnStar subscription if I wanted to, and maybe I will. Overall, this interior is relatively nice to be in. These seats are really nice. They contour really well. And there you have it, viewers. This is the start of a new age on the channel where I have a car that is actually going to go on a journey. Probably literally in some cases as well. I really do want to take this car on a bunch of different road trips, maybe even across the country. Who knows? I'd love to do that. So a special thank you to all of you who have been around for the past, I don't know how many years at this point. A special thank you to my 1,000 subscriber who I was just talking to not long ago, who told me that he tends to be one of the first views and the first like on my videos. So I appreciate you. You know exactly who you are. But this car, it's going to get modified. It's going to go on adventures. It's going to do a lot of things. It's going to go on autocross. It'll maybe even do a track day at some point. Maybe even some power modifications. Who knows? And this car, while I wait to get the more powerful sports vehicle that I've been trying to get for some time, this is going to be a very good stopgap. So viewers, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you guys are excited like I am for the upcoming journey ahead. If this is your first time, I highly invite you to give the page a follow. You will not regret it, and I hope to see you on another video.